For centuries, the Draconian Armada ruled the far edges of the galaxy like a silent storm made of iron and fire. Their warships were enormous black shapes drifting across the stars, shaped like metal dragons with wings sharp enough to cut through asteroid belts and claws strong enough to pull cities from the ground. Everywhere they went, they left only ruins behind. Entire civilizations whispered their name in fear, and children across the galaxy grew up hearing stories of draconian cruelty. Nobody had ever stopped them. Nobody had even slowed them down. They were destruction in pure form, and they enjoyed it. But in a strange twist of destiny, the only world that did not tremble when they looked its way was the one the galaxy least expected. A small blue planet named Earth. The Draconian High Council had been planning for years. They believed Earth was weak, underdeveloped, and easy prey. Their spies had seen no massive fleets, no planetary cannons, no star-forged weapons. All they saw were humans, small, flesh-based creatures with limited technology and a strange tendency to fight among themselves. To the Draconians, Earth looked like an easy victory. So one day, without announcing war, without negotiation, without warning, they sent their entire armada toward the small world. 300 warships, each the size of a city. 300 carriers filled with fire-breathing attack drones. 300 planet burners capable of erasing continents in a single strike. It was the largest force ever assembled for one target. The galaxy watched the live broadcast with quiet excitement. Many were curious, others terrified, but nearly everyone believed the same thing. Earth would fall quickly. It was expected to end in minutes, maybe less than an hour. Galactic news channels trained their cameras on the night side of Earth, showing the moment the shadows of the Draconian fleet approached the planet. Commentators whispered predictions. Some said the oceans would boil. Others said the continents would turn black. A few small species prayed quietly, hoping Earth would somehow surrender without suffering. But most were certain the humans were finished. Then, something happened that no one could explain. Something so strange, so impossible, that the entire galaxy froze in disbelief. The moment the Draconian Armada crossed into Earth's upper orbit, every single ship vanished. Not one or two, not half. All 300 warships, gone. There was no explosion, no shock wave, no energy pulse, not even a scream. One moment the ships were there, towering shadows covering the sky, and the next moment they were simply not. It was like someone erased them with a single stroke of an invisible hand. The broadcast glitched, screens flickered, sensors screamed errors, and then every feed went silent. Galaxies away, alien leaders stared at their monitors with open mouths. Draconian generals collapsed into panic. Engineers tore apart their systems, searching for a signal, a trace, anything. But there was nothing. No debris, no drifting metal, no escape pods, no distress calls, just emptiness. It was as if the Armada had never existed at all. Within minutes, the Draconian Empire declared a state of emergency. Their capital world entered blackout. Their communication lines crashed under the weight of terrified messages. If their greatest force, 3 centuries of fear forged into steel, could disappear without a sound, then the galaxy was no longer safe. Something was out there, something powerful enough to erase history's most feared fleet in less than a heartbeat. Other species begged the Galactic Council to investigate. They sent desperate messages, pleas for action, warnings that something unnatural had awakened on Earth. But the Council refused. They dismissed every concern with casual arrogance. Earth is weak, they said. Humans are primitive. No planet without fleet defenses could destroy the Draconian Armada. They filed the entire case under sensor malfunction and closed it. But one man did not believe the Council. His name was Veros, a quiet alien researcher from a forgotten corner of the galaxy. Veros had spent years studying unusual energy signatures, gravitational distortions, and ancient anomalies. To him, Earth had always been strange, a world with technology far lower than its natural energy readings suggested. He noticed things the Council ignored. The odd magnetic pulses from Earth's core, the sudden bursts of radiation that lasted only seconds, the soft but constant hum of something sleeping deep beneath the planet's crust. After the Armada vanished, Veros became obsessed. Each night, he connected his equipment to an old observatory pointing toward the Sol system. He watched Earth like a creature waiting to wake from a long sleep. And every night he saw it, strange energy spikes rising from the planet. Soft waves at first, gentle movements like breathing. But then stronger, sharper, more controlled. These were not natural. These were not random. They looked like the signature of an ancient machine, or a hidden life form, or something older than the Galactic Council itself. Veros reported his findings. The Council ignored him again. "You are imagining threats," they told him. "Earth cannot harm us. Do not waste our time." But Veros knew something was happening down there. Something the galaxy had never seen before. Something dangerous. He could feel it every time he stared at the glowing blue world. Earth looked peaceful from a distance. But beneath that calm surface, something enormous was moving, slow, patient, waking up after centuries of sleep. Then one night, as Veros listened to the deep hum of his sensors, the signal changed. Earth's energy readings spiked so violently that his equipment nearly exploded. The observatory lights flickered. The walls shook. His heart raced as a single message appeared on his screen, transmitted from Earth in a frequency older than modern languages. It was short, cold, and terrifying. "Do not approach." Veros stared at the message for a long time. His hands trembled. His mind raced through every possible meaning. But deep inside, he already knew what the truth was. The disappearance of the Draconian Armada was not an accident. It was not a glitch. It was not a malfunction. Something on Earth had erased them. Something older than the Council. Something the galaxy was not ready to face. Something that had now awakened. As Veros looked at the silent blue planet floating in the darkness, he felt the air around him grow colder. He realized the galaxy had made a terrible mistake, not by attacking Earth but by ignoring it. Because the humans already knew the truth. They knew what lived beneath their world. And they were terrified too. That was why Earth had stayed silent. That was why the humans had never boasted. That was why no one had ever explained how the Armada vanished. Earth was not hiding power. Earth was hiding fear. And now that fear was finally awake, Veros did not sleep after receiving Earth's message. His small research chamber felt colder than usual, the air around him heavy, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The message kept replaying in his mind, a simple warning that carried more weight than any war declaration he had ever studied. Do not approach. He had seen countless alien broadcasts in his lifetime, messages written in anger, fear, arrogance, pride, or desperation. But Earth's message carried none of those emotions. It was calm, controlled, and horribly honest. It didn't threaten. It didn't explain. It didn't justify. It simply told the galaxy the truth. Something on Earth was dangerous, and the galaxy should stay away if it wanted to survive. But nobody listened. Across the galaxy, minor empires, pirate fleets, and mercenary groups believed they were stronger, smarter, faster. They thought the Draconian Armada had been destroyed by a hidden weapon, not an unknown force. They wanted to steal it, control it, use it for themselves. Within days, small scout teams began traveling toward the Sol system. Some went quietly, others openly. They believed Earth was hiding technology worth more than all the stars combined. But what happened next proved the message right. Every scout ship vanished. Some disappeared just crossing the asteroid belt. Others reached lunar orbit before their signals turned into static. A few managed to send one final transmission, a single scream, cut abruptly short. The galaxy ignored the warnings again. They blamed solar storms, black holes, and random accidents. They blamed everything except the truth. But Veros kept collecting the signals, studying every static burst, every broken whisper, every faint echo. And the more he studied, the stronger the fear grew inside him. One day, he discovered something horrifying, a fragment from the Draconian flagship's final transmission. It was incomplete, damaged, corrupted by unknown energy, but enough to reveal what happened during the first disappearance. The recording showed the Draconian crew running across metal corridors, their footsteps echoing with panic. Warning sirens flashed red. Lights flickered. The ship's temperature dropped so suddenly that frost formed on the walls. Officers shouted orders, but their voices trembled with fear. Something was crawling across the hull. Something dark, shapeless, alive. Veros played the fragment in slow motion, studying every second. A shadow passed over the camera, a thick black wave stretching like liquid night, swallowing metal as if the ship were made of dust. It did not burn. It did not crush. It simply erased whatever it touched. The crew members did not scream from pain. They screamed from terror, because they saw something they could not explain. Something that was not technology, not energy, not a weapon. Something alive. The recording ended with the captain whispering, "It woke up." After that, the screen went black. Veros sat in silence for a long time. His chest felt tight. His pulse raced. He had seen many terrible things in his life. Wars, plagues, collapsing stars, dying civilizations. But nothing frightened him the way that shadow did. It moved like it had purpose, like it understood what fear was and enjoyed it. He imagined what it must have felt like for the humans on Earth, knowing something like that slept beneath their own planet. For the first time, he felt sympathy for humanity. Maybe Earth wasn't silent out of arrogance. Maybe Earth was silent because they were scared too. Maybe the humans learned long ago that this thing, the one that erased the Armada, was not a weapon but a curse they could never fully seal away. While the Council dismissed the disaster as fiction, Veros traveled to an old archive on a moon near the Council's core world. He searched through ancient files, dusty records, forgotten scrolls left behind by civilizations older than the Council itself. After days of work, he found a document written thousands of years ago by a species that had vanished before modern empires were born. The document described a strange event on a small blue world, where an unknown force wiped out an invading fleet overnight. The description of the shadows matched exactly what Veros saw in the Draconian recording. At that moment, everything changed. He realized Earth had faced this creature before, and somehow humanity survived. He began shaking. His hands trembled as he held the fragile document. The emotional weight crushed his chest. How many humans died the first time this thing awakened? How many cities vanished? How many families were destroyed? How long did they suffer before they learned to seal it away? And how powerful must humanity be to live with that fear for thousands of years without letting the galaxy know? Veros suddenly felt small. The galaxy felt small. Everything felt insignificant compared to the truth he had uncovered. He looked out at the stars in silence, imagining Earth below, a peaceful world hiding a nightmare under its crust. And then he felt something deeper, pain. He felt sad for humanity, sad for the burden they carried, sad for the secret they never asked for. Across the galaxy, others continued ignoring the warnings. More ships disappeared. More signals turned into screams. But Earth remained quiet, never bragging, never attacking, never explaining. Their silence felt heavy, not like victory, but like grief. Humans weren't proud of what erased the Armada. They were terrified of it. They only awakened it because they were attacked. Veros finally understood the emotion behind Earth's message. It wasn't a warning of power. It was a warning of sorrow. A plea, "Stay away, for your sake, not ours." The galaxy had no idea what they were provoking. They believed humans were weak, but they didn't understand one thing: humans survive everything. Fire, disease, war, extinction-level events. Nothing had ever destroyed humanity completely. And maybe that was the most frightening part. Because if humanity survived their own nightmare once, it meant they could survive it again. And if they could survive it, the galaxy could not. Veros closed his eyes and felt a strange coldness seep into the room. It wasn't the shadow creature. It was fear, his own. He realized a terrifying truth. If the Draconian Armada vanished without resistance, then the galaxy didn't understand Earth at all. They weren't weak. They weren't helpless. They were a species that lived beside a monster for generations and learned to adapt. And the one lesson they learned above all was simple. Never wake it. Never anger it. Never let it out. But now, the galaxy had forced their hand, and something beneath Earth was slowly opening its eyes again. Vero spent sleepless nights wandering through empty halls of the ancient archive. The discovery of Earth's forgotten history had shaken him so deeply that every breath he took felt heavier than the last. The shadows, the vanished armada, the strange energy spikes. They were no longer random mysteries. They were pieces of a puzzle older than most star systems. And with each piece he connected, he felt fear spreading through his chest like slow poison. But the truth was still incomplete. He needed to know what the humans themselves had faced. What tragedy had forced them to bury such a nightmare beneath their world. What sacrifice they made to survive something powerful enough to erase fleets like smoke. So he kept searching, moving deeper into the restricted chambers where even the council rarely entered. Dust filled the air, the lights flickered, and old data crystals hummed like faint voices whispering to him. Then, in the far corner of the archive, he found it. A small, cracked data tablet, its edges burned, as if someone had tried to destroy it but failed. The symbol carved on it was human. It was the oldest version of Earth's emblem, used thousands of years ago when humanity was still climbing out of its first global wars. With shaking hands, Veros activated the device. The screen lit up with a soft blue glow, and a simple label appeared. Project Eclipse, Final Report. His heart pounded. He opened the file. What he saw inside changed everything. The report described Earth during an ancient era, a time when humans were united not out of strength, but out of desperation. The planet had been dying. A mysterious cosmic threat had approached their world, erasing everything in its path, consuming matter, energy, and even the air around it. Scientists from all human nations worked together to create a last resort, a living biological construct designed not to attack, not to destroy, but to protect. It was named Eclipse, but something went horribly wrong. The being they created did not remain under their control. It was designed to adapt, but it adapted too quickly. It developed instinct, emotion, hunger, and once awakened, it began feeding on anything it sensed as a threat, including Earth's own cities. Massive regions vanished overnight. Millions died in silence. The report described families torn apart, children disappearing in black mist, soldiers standing helpless as their weapons dissolved in their hands. There were no screams in the report, only numbers. Cold, emotionless statistics of a tragedy so deep that words failed to capture it. Veros felt tears forming in his eyes. He whispered softly, "Humans suffered this alone. All this time, and no one knew." Humanity eventually found a way to seal Eclipse beneath the planet, deep in a chamber that even modern technology could not detect. They locked it away with energy barriers powered by the planet's core itself. The cost was unimaginable. Entire continents had to be abandoned. Thousands of scientists sacrificed their lives maintaining the seal. When it finally worked, humanity stood on the edge of extinction, broken, grieving, but alive. The report ended with a final human statement. Eclipse must never awaken again. Not for us. Not for the galaxy. Veros placed the tablet down slowly, his hands trembling so badly he almost dropped it. He imagined what it must have felt like for those ancient humans staring into the eyes of the being they created, a creature meant to save them, but one that nearly destroyed them instead. He saw battlefield doctors crying because they could save no one. Parents digging through gray dust hoping to find remains of their children. Leaders signing their final orders knowing they would never see daylight again. Humanity had carried this wound for thousands of years, and the galaxy never knew. They were not weak. They were survivors of the unthinkable. They lived next to a nightmare for generations and still built a civilization strong enough to reach the stars. For the first time in his life, Veros felt respect so deep it hurt. He sat down on the cold metal floor, his breath unsteady, as the emotional weight crushed him. He understood now why Earth stayed silent. If the galaxy discovered the truth too early, panic would spread like wildfire. Fleets would attack, trying to destroy the creature, only to awaken it further. Civilizations would crumble before even understanding what happened. He understood why humanity never bragged about power. Their greatest secret was not a weapon but a wound that never healed. But Veros also realized something far worse. When the Draconian Armada attacked Earth, humanity had no choice. They must have known the seal would break under the pressure of such a massive attack. They must have understood the danger. But they were trapped. They could not fight 300 warships alone. They could not stop the invasion. So they awakened the one thing they swore never to unleash again. The emotional burden of that choice hit Veros like a punch to the chest. Earth had sacrificed the safety of the galaxy to survive. And now the universe would pay the price. Suddenly, the archive lights flickered, and Veros' wrist communicator vibrated violently. He opened the transmission. A trembling voice from a far-off mining colony whispered, "Something dark swallowed our sky." Another signal cut in, "Our ships, gone. All gone." A third signal screamed, "Eclipse! It's spreading." Veros closed his eyes. Tears streamed down his face. It was too late. The awakening had already begun. Slow but unstoppable, moving from Earth into the void beyond. He wished the Council had listened to him. He wished the galaxy had not mocked Earth. He wished the Draconian Armada had never attacked. But wishes meant nothing now. Humanity had carried this burden alone for thousands of years. Now the galaxy would learn the truth the hard way. And Veros knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whatever erased the Draconian Armada was only using a fraction of its power. The real terror had not started yet. The galaxy had always believed the Council stood at the center of order. Their fleets enforced peace. Their words shaped laws. Their judgments could end wars before they began. But as the reports of disappearing colonies spread like a dark wind across the stars, the Council chambers felt smaller than ever before. Leaders who once spoke with confidence now whispered in broken voices. Their screens flickered with emergency red. Their advisors argued, panicked, shaking in fear. For the first time in generations, the Council felt powerless. And Earth remained silent. Their silence was not calm anymore. It felt heavier than stone, like the quiet before a cosmic storm. Earth was not celebrating the fall of the Draconian Armada. They were not mocking the vanished scout fleets. They were too still, too quiet, too cold. And that silence began to terrify even those who once laughed at humanity. Inside the Council chamber, a dozen holograms of destroyed colonies floated above the central table. Entire settlements erased without debris. Mining planets reduced to dark, empty shells. Energy signatures identical to the ones Veros detected around Earth. Every scientist confirmed the same thing. This was not random, not an attack from a known empire, not a weapon, not a phenomenon. It was the same entity that devoured the Armada. The Council members argued, shouting over each other, their voices cracking with fear. It must be Earth. They have unleashed something. Then why are humans not attacking us? They are hiding information. They knew about this monster long before the rest of us. We must force Earth to explain. But deep down, every leader felt the same sinking realization. Earth wasn't attacking. Earth wasn't threatening anyone. Earth wasn't moving at all. Something else was. And it was not under human control. In the middle of this chaos, Veros stood quietly, exhausted, holding the data tablet with the ancient Project Eclipse report. He had tried countless times to speak, but no one listened. They dismissed him, mocked him, treated him as a frightened researcher losing his mind. But now, when the galaxy's foundations trembled, everyone turned to him with desperate eyes. "You have seen the signals," the Council head said, his voice trembling. "Explain. What is happening?" Veros stepped forward slowly, feeling the weight of billions of lives pressing on him. He displayed the ancient human document in the center of the chamber. The Council watched with wide eyes as the old footage, the faded diagrams, and the horrifying numbers flickered in front of them. This is humanity's oldest fear," Veros said, his voice barely above a whisper. "This is the reason Earth remains quiet, the reason they do not celebrate. They are not the masters of this creature. They are the survivors of it." The room fell silent. Veros continued, slowly, painfully. "Eclipse is not a weapon. It is not technology. It is not something humans control. It is something they sealed away after paying a terrible price. Millions died the first time it awakened. Cities disappeared. Continents turned to dust. Earth survived only by sealing it beneath their planet. Several council members leaned back, their faces pale. You mean, this monster was sleeping under their world for thousands of years? And they told no one? Vero's voice cracked with emotion. They were protecting us. They protected the galaxy from a horror we never even knew existed. The chamber was silent long enough that even the air felt heavy. Then another hologram lit up, a live feed from a council battleship near a border system. The ship trembled violently. Alarms screamed. Officers shouted desperately. Something moved outside their hull. Something dark. Something shapeless. The shadow slid across the ship like living smoke, pressing against the glass, distorting reality with its presence. The officers froze as a cold voice echoed through their minds. No sound, no language, just a feeling. Justice. A second later, the ship vanished from the feed. Just like the Armada. Just like the Scouts. Just like the mining colonies. The council chamber erupted into chaos again. Leaders shouted, argued, begged for answers, demanded a plan. But Veros did not shout. He simply closed his eyes and whispered, "It is punishing tyrants. The same way it once punished those who harmed Earth." The emotional weight of that sentence spread across the room like frost. If the monster judged worlds based on cruelty, if it chose targets based on injustice, if it acted on some ancient instinct, then who would it come for next? Civilizations with slave colonies. Empires that exploited weaker species. Worlds that had harmed Earth. Leaders who ignored humanity's warnings. The galaxy was no longer dealing with a silent predator. It was dealing with a judge. Suddenly, Earth's transmission grid activated. The council chamber lights flickered. Every screen became black. Every communicator buzzed. Then a single message appeared across all frequencies in cold, simple human language. "You ignored our warnings. The seal is breaking. Do not interfere." The room went dead silent. Many felt anger rise in their chests. Others felt despair. But everyone felt fear. Because Earth wasn't threatening them, it was telling the truth. Something beneath their world was breaking free, and nothing in the galaxy could stop it. "Why won't Earth fight it?" someone shouted. Veros answered with pain in his eyes. "They can't. They barely survived the first awakening. They woke it again only because the Armada attacked. Humans are terrified. They know what is coming, and they know the galaxy will blame them." A cold realization sank into everyone's hearts. Earth was preparing for the worst. Not to attack the galaxy, but to defend themselves from the monster they once sealed. As the council argued desperately, Veros felt a strange pulse in the air. A soft vibration like a heartbeat echoing across space. He looked up at the holographic star map. A dark fog spread slowly outward from Earth's position. Like ripples in water. It was growing. Not fast, not violently, but steadily, with purpose. And the galaxy had no idea how to stop it. Veros felt tears gathering in his eyes again. Not from fear this time, but from sorrow. He felt the pain of humanity. The quiet grief of a species that carried a nightmare for thousands of years. Alone, misunderstood, judged as weak, mocked as primitive. They never shared their suffering. They never asked for help. And when the galaxy attacked them, they didn't respond with revenge. They responded with dread. Because they knew what would happen. Earth wasn't the danger. Earth was the warning. And now the warning had been ignored. As the dark wave continued to spread outward from Earth, Veros whispered the truth the council refused to say aloud. Eclipse is awake. The galaxy had never known true silence. There were always distant signals, starship engines, planetary broadcasts, the hum of thousands of worlds speaking at once. But when the dark wave pulsed outward from Earth, the entire galaxy fell mute. Communication arrays flickered, long-range scanners dimmed, and star maps glowed with strange distortions. For the first time in recorded history, the void felt alive, trembling with something far beyond what science could measure. In the Galactic Council chamber, fear had taken a physical form. Leaders who once believed themselves untouchable now stood pale and shaking, staring at the spreading darkness on the holographic map. It moved slowly but not weakly, like a tide that didn't care about obstacles or borders, a tide that remembered every wound. Meanwhile, Veros stood frozen, unable to look away. His mind echoed with all the research he had done, every ancient report he discovered, every warning the humans wrote thousands of years ago. The truth was now undeniable. Eclipse wasn't just awake. It was expanding. And somewhere, deep beneath Earth, humanity knew it too. As the galaxy watched in horror, something unexpected happened. Earth's oceans began to move not naturally, but with precision. Waves curled upward, forming spirals, as if responding to an unseen force. Satellites recorded bright lines of energy glowing beneath the water. The deserts lit up with long-forgotten runes. Snow-capped mountains trembled, cracking open with blue light pouring from their cores. It looked like magic, but Veros knew it was not magic. It was technology so old and advanced that the galaxy mistook it for myth. Moments later, the sea split. A massive structure rose from the depths. A colossal black warship with smooth armor reflecting the stars like liquid glass. Its surface seemed alive, shifting with faint pulses of energy. It had no visible cannons, no missile ports, no known propulsion system. Yet it floated effortlessly into the sky. Then another emerged. And another. Soon dozens of sleek black vessels rose from Earth's oceans. Humanity's Eclipse-class fleet had awakened. The galaxy stared in disbelief. They had never seen anything like it before. Even the Draconian armada, with all its fireborne warships, looked primitive compared to Earth's rising vessels. These ships didn't roar. They hummed with a sound that vibrated through the chest, like a heartbeat echoing through space. For centuries, Earth appeared weak. Now, the truth was visible for all to see. But there was no pride on Earth's broadcasts, no declarations of power, no threats. Earth remained silent. The fleet formed a circle around the planet, a protective barrier. Not to attack the galaxy, not to declare war, but to prepare for something much worse. Inside the council chamber, fear turned into confusion. If Earth had this fleet, why didn't they use it before? They could have stopped the Draconians easily. They could dominate the galaxy with this power. Veros took a deep breath, his voice heavy with sadness. They didn't want domination. They wanted peace. They hid their fleet because they feared awakening Eclipse. They feared attracting attention. They feared this. He pointed at the map, where the dark wave continued expanding. They built these ships not to fight us, but to work with Eclipse, to contain it, to stop it when it becomes too strong. A silence even heavier than before filled the room. Earth didn't build weapons to conquer the galaxy. Earth built weapons to survive their own nightmare. Suddenly, a new transmission appeared. Earth's first full message since the Armada disappeared. The hologram flickered, showing a weary human commander with tired eyes, his face carrying centuries of pain passed down through generations. His voice was steady but filled with grief. "We did not want this. We tried to seal it. We tried to protect you. But you forced our hand." Every leader in the chamber leaned forward, unable to blink. "We will contain Eclipse if we can. But understand this. It grows stronger with every act of cruelty it senses." The implication struck everyone like a blade. Empires built on slavery. Nations that oppressed weaker species. Worlds that destroyed their own people. Systems that harmed Earth in the past. Eclipse would seek them first. The human commander continued, his tone breaking with emotion. "Do not mistake our silence for power. It is fear. We survived Eclipse once, barely. We do not know if we can survive it again." As he spoke, the dark wave reached a new star system. Dozens of battle satellites recorded what happened next. No attack, no beams, no explosions. Just a shadow falling across a world like a curtain of night. Then the world was gone. Not destroyed, not shattered, not burned, erased. A quiet gasp spread across the council chamber. "It is feeding," Veros whispered. Several leaders collapsed into their chairs, trembling. But something else happened that no one expected. As the dark wave consumed the system, one small moon remained untouched. Moments later, a message appeared from the moon's colony. Its people crying, shouting, thanking humanity for saving them. Their world had been suffering under a brutal regime, and only the oppressed survived the purge. Eclipse wasn't killing randomly. Eclipse was judging. The galaxy had never faced anything like this. Because Eclipse wasn't a monster. It was something far more terrifying. An ancient, emotionless force that punished cruelty wherever it found it. The question haunting everyone now was simple. If Eclipse punished injustice, then how many civilizations were safe? Earth's fleet expanded its orbit, preparing to hold the line. The ships moved silently, knowing the task ahead might be impossible. Humanity had awakened their guardian, their curse, and now they stood between the galaxy and the storm. Inside his quiet chamber, Veros stared at the map with tears slowly falling down his cheeks. Not from fear, but from heartbreak. He understood humanity now. He understood why they stayed silent, why they never bragged, why they hid their power, why they carried the burden alone. Humans were not monsters. They were protectors, broken, scarred, and terrified protectors. And now, as the darkness spread like a memory returning to life, Veros whispered the truth the galaxy refused to accept. Humanity never wanted war. They only wanted to survive. But survival came with a cost. The question was, could the galaxy survive humanity's burden? The galaxy had seen wars, invasions, plagues, dying stars, but nothing prepared them for the suffocating silence spreading from Earth. It wasn't just quiet. It was a silence that felt alive, slowly squeezing the breath from every living thing across millions of worlds. The dark wave, Eclipse, continued its steady expansion through space, not rushing, not chasing, simply moving with the calm certainty of something that knew no force in existence could stop it. Earth's Eclipse-class fleet held position around the planet like a ring of black guardians, their shields glowing faintly as if bracing for an impact the galaxy could not imagine. Inside each vessel, humans stood ready, not with pride, not with courage, but with the quiet acceptance of people who knew they were facing something older and stronger than their entire species. Veros watched the star map trembling under the pressure of the spreading anomaly. Entire systems vanished like drops of water falling into a void. Empires that once boasted of their strength were reduced to silent dots fading from the charts. On many worlds, civilians fell to their knees, crying, praying, begging the Council to stop the darkness. But the Council had no answers anymore. No weapons, no strategies, no hope. Every leader looked toward Earth, the world they once mocked, the world they once ignored, the world they now feared more than the darkness itself. The dark wave finally reached the border of the Council's core sectors. Ships near the perimeter transmitted desperate messages. Voices breaking, screams echoing, static swallowing their words. Some transmissions were only a single whispered sentence. "It is looking at us." But something strange happened next. The dark wave stopped, not slowed, not weakened. It simply paused, like a living creature taking a breath. In the same moment, every sensor in the galaxy detected something rising from deep beneath Earth. Something enormous, something ancient, something powerful enough to distort gravity and bend space around it. Cameras pointed toward the planet recorded a crack forming across a continent. Light shot upward from the fracture, splitting the sky with a blinding column that reached into orbit. Then it emerged. Not a ship, not a creature, not a machine, something in between. Eclipse. A massive, shifting structure of black mist and silver light, constantly changing shape, as if the laws of physics were struggling to define it. Sometimes it looked like wings, sometimes like claws, sometimes like a colossal eye staring into the souls of everyone who watched. Thousands of voices across the galaxy gasped at once. Even the bravest warriors trembled. The Council fell silent. And then Eclipse spoke. Not in words, not in a language, but in emotion. Every being in the galaxy felt the same thing at the same time. Pain, memory, judgment, justice. Eclipse projected visions into the minds of billions, visions of the past. They saw the Draconian armada burning innocent worlds. They saw slavers beating children. They saw empires killing weaker species. They saw tyrants laughing as they crushed civilizations under their boots. The galaxy thought humans awakened Eclipse. But the truth hit them like a storm. Eclipse awakened itself. It rose not because Earth called it, but because cruelty across the galaxy had reached a breaking point. Yet in the middle of all these visions, one stood out. Humanity. The galaxy saw ancient humans screaming as Eclipse consumed their cities. They saw children hiding behind broken walls. They saw scientists crying as they activated the seal. They saw the moment humanity almost died to save the universe. Across billions of worlds, countless beings began to cry without knowing why. Because for the first time, they felt the sorrow humanity carried for thousands of years. Eclipse's final message sent a shockwave of emotion so strong that stars themselves flickered. I judge cruelty. I protect the innocent. I remember everything. Then its tone shifted, soft, heavy, fragile. And humanity remembers me. The dark wave resumed its motion, but not toward the galaxy. It folded inward toward Eclipse itself. Every erased star system, every erased fleet, every erased injustice was being absorbed back into the core of the entity. This wasn't destruction. This was Eclipse gathering strength for something final. Earth's fleet moved apart to form a clear path, as if standing aside for a king returning to its throne. And then, something happened no one expected. Humanity broadcast one last message. A single human voice, fragile with emotion, echoed across the stars. We cannot destroy Eclipse. We cannot control it. But we can stand between it and the galaxy. The message continued, quieter. We will not let the universe suffer what we did. Billions felt their hearts tighten. The holograms showed Earth's fleet powering up its shields, not to fight the galaxy, but to contain Eclipse's energy. It was a suicide move, a sacrifice, a decision made by a species that had already sacrificed too much. Veros whispered, tears sliding down his face. Humans are going to imprison themselves with it. The Eclipse-class ships aligned into a massive formation. Their energy fields converged, forming a prison of light around the rising entity. Eclipse resisted, not violently, not angrily, but like a wounded animal refusing to return to a cage. The ships trembled under the pressure. One cracked, another went dark. The formation strained, warping space with the sheer force of energy colliding. Humanity was giving everything they had. Across the galaxy, countless beings held their breath. And then, in a brilliant burst of blinding light, the seal reformed. Eclipse disappeared into the containment field. Earth's fleet vanished with it. The stars returned to normal. The galaxy exhaled in disbelief. Silence again. A new silence. A silence born not of fear, but of respect. The final message from Earth remained on every screen. Do not awaken it again. Veros stared into the fading light, feeling the weight of everything humans had endured. The galaxy had misjudged them, mocked them, feared them, attacked them. But in the end, humanity did what they had always done. They protected everyone, even when it meant suffering alone. He whispered into the quiet chamber. Humanity, the galaxy never deserved you. The star map glowed softly. The darkness gone, the threat sealed again. But the story would never be forgotten, because somewhere deep in the seal, beyond the stars and beneath the silence, Eclipse slept, waiting, remembering, and humanity stood guard. Always,